Another episode of Reclaiming Timeless Ways is getting underway. I'm Simon Fuller. This is Mike Traister, the man, with all the great topics that we hope you take a little something away from. Each and every show we preface or talk about throughout or end with. We appreciate you watching and really, truly, genuinely hope that some tidbit, some seed you can take away of information, knowledge, a tool, if you will, put in your toolbox and help you or somebody that you know in the future. With that being said, we always encourage you to subscribe to the channel and share with others so that our seeds may be sprinkled. And this week's topic or seed that we're sprinkling is, Mike?
When the doctor needs a doctor.
Okay.
Now, we're going to focus on doctors, but not only on doctors.
Okay.
So that's a good phrase because it makes you think, yeah, okay, everybody needs some help.
Right.
One way or another, right?
Bingo.
Okay. So I'm going to give some examples of things that are just outrageous. And it's like, these are people who are established to some degree. They have very, very firmly guarded turf. So they're unassailable, quote, unapproachable. They're beyond reproach, supposedly, and beyond criticism, except they're not at all. So I'm going to give a couple of examples. Doc I spoke to who used ketamine, which is an anesthetic. It's from PCP, which is elephant tranquilizer, as a means of spiritual growth.
Okay.
It's not unheard of. It can cause damage to the kidneys and the heart. It also is like mildly, it's profoundly sedating. So if you are under the influence of something like it, and some sort of an emergency takes place in your environment, somebody falls down, somebody chokes, somebody gets burned, right? Somebody's hurt, there's a fire, you can't respond. Making yourself spiritually interesting to yourself by using ketamine is insane. Period.
I've heard of ketamine, but I'm going to be real honest, Mike. I don't know a lot about it.
Well, it's
is it sort of a hallucinogenic as well? Is that what you're getting at? Is that
right.
what people use it to imagine a higher level?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And so it has less effects on the heart and the lungs. So it's a safer drug when appropriately used. But it's used for surgery, not to get high and think that you're God,
Right.
So that would be one. That doctor needed a doctor.
Right.
Talk to him and say, okay, so you want to feel more relaxed, you want to feel more whole, you want to feel like your life has meaning, you want to understand that it's okay to not have complete control, because no one does, but you still have a lot of control. You don't use ketamine to get there. Or somebody shamed you or abused you, and this isn't going to just make all that go away. It's not what it's for, right? I know of a doc, now this is not just one guy, but this one particular person used nitrous oxide to get way wasted, right? Choked to death on his own vomit. He needed a doctor.
Yeah.
Right, he was a substance abuser. He was using laughing gas from the dentist to get ripped. And when he was so sick from his dose that he choked, he vomited and aspirated his vomit and drowned in his own vomit, okay? If I say it nicely, you won't completely get the impact of what I'm saying. Why? It's wrong. I knew a psychiatrist. He was one of the most amoral people I've ever met in my life. He was a sadist. He was cruel and destructive and sick. And he had a young man who was his patient, and he told young man, patient was profoundly depressed. And he told his parents that he was making incredible progress in his daily therapy. This is what his daily therapy consisted of. I'm going to change his name. He's in a locked room because he's not in control of himself.
Right.
So there's a little window. Yes. Hi, Jim. It's the doctor. Okay. How are you today? I'm okay. Anything new you want to talk about today? No. Are you sure? Yes. Okay. Writes down psychotherapy, 1 hour. Did this every day for 6 weeks.
And got paid for that
Got
hour.
paid for it while the kid was going down the shitter and overtly suicidal. And I actually sat and talked to the parents and told them what was going on, which cost me a job. But they got their kids safe, which that's what mattered. There's another doctor who had a woman patient who was severely physically abused. Her face was punched in. She looked like a hamburger when I met her. And he put her in the same environment she came out of to work, in a waitressing capacity, among very destructive, dangerous people, which is what she was addicted to. And he called it milieu therapy. Milieu means in the group. And so somehow by being exposed to everything, you get desensitized to it, and you figure out what's right and wrong, and you get better. Except he was risking her life in an outrageously incompetent way. And he was very arrogant, and he was insensitive. The only thing that mattered to this man was his pride, not his patient. So I confronted him. We had about a 30, 40-minute confrontation. I charted everything that we discussed. When we were done, he lost his privileges to admit patients to this hospital, which was good because he couldn't abuse more people. So this man needed to be confronted, and that just doesn't happen. And the reason why it doesn't happen is because it's about turf. If you confront somebody, then maybe they'll confront you. They'll make something up to get even. So you just cower. And you abandon and betray the patient in the process.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. And you say, yeah, that would be difficult. And people go, you know, you have to choose your battles. That's like when it comes down to profoundly urgent things, that's the saying. I'm not saying that that's not sometimes true.
Right.
There's a lot of things like, is the label crooked on your Cracker Jack box? Who
Right.
cares? Right? Things like that. There's a lot of crap that you don't have to focus
You're not
on.
going to call up Cracker Jack and say, hey, guys,
Yeah, right. I don't care. Oh, what was it? I don't know. Who cares?
they taste the same. You're nothing to gain by that straight label.
Right. But in medicine and in other areas, a lot of people have longevity because of all the things they didn't do that they should have. They protected their turf at the expense of a. Now imagine if it was your kid, and maybe you heard, maybe that nurse that was a coward is standing there whispering, I had to pick my battles wisely, and you are the parent of that kid that hurt themselves because of it. And you overhear this nurse saying that. How are you going to feel? Are you going to think, oh yeah, well she was reasonable, or are you going to think, she put profound harm on my child? Which way are you going to see it?
Yeah.
All right? So, Cracker Jack's label, so what? Screw it. Kid's life at stake, do the right thing, right? So I had a patient, he had a complete hip replacement. And so he had a cut, and, you know, the wound wasn't healed completely. And he's in this big cast. from his chest down to, I think, just below his hips. And he also had a bad digestive infection. So he had diarrhea,
Okay.
right? Well, in his groin, he's got a wound that's slowly healing from the surgery, and he's crapping on his wound, right? So I call up the nurse practitioner who's the head of the ward. She's the director of that unit. And I said to her, you got a patient that's had surgery, you got an open wound, they've got Clostridium difficile, which was the infection, they're crapping on the wound. That crap is going to get in the wound, it's going to go in their circulatory system, they're going to get septic and die. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's no misunderstanding those steps or the high probability of this being a lethal screw-up. So she refused to do anything. We sent them back to the doc when somebody else was on staff another day. The doc refused to fix the cast, right? Comes back on the ward, and I'm on duty again another day. This has gone on for, I don't know, 5, 6 days. And he codes. I walk in the room as his heart stops. And I call the code. And if you're not on the code team, what you do when the code is called is you get out of the way and you let them do their job. And so they resuscitated him. They got his heart beating again. They got him breathing again. He spent 2 weeks in intensive care unit and suffered immensely. Maybe he had some brain damage or heart damage, I don't know. None of that was necessary. And this is all because people are cowards and they protect their turf. And that's why a lot of people have, in critical environments, that's why a lot of people have job longevity, because they pick their battles.
So what battle are you going to pick is kind of what you're asking.
That's what I'm asking. 'Cause
And
it's
what's on the line?
right, what is on the line? And that's the whole topic.
All right.
It sometimes is a matter of eventually life and death.
And that's beyond just the medical world, as
Oh, yeah.
you know. I mean, you spent a lot of time in the medical world, so you can firsthand
Yeah.
account many of those situations. But that happens in so many environments and situations where you see the wrong thing is being done. Not all of them lead to fatal results,
No,
but they
No, you
still
get
lead
lucky.
to destructive results.
Right.
Whether you see someone getting hosed at the local business,
Right.
or whether you're seeing someone get bullied in the work environment, whatever it might be, but you don't want to speak up
Right.
to the superior for whatever reason. I mean, that's kind of the core of this whole show, do the right thing,
very much so. Very much so.
and the cost will be worth it in the end.
Yeah, right.
Scary as that sounds, but all right, Mike, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Reclaiming Timeless Ways. We wish you a great day.